All right guys, this is Austin Miller with Coon Bayou Outdoors. So today we're going to be talking about the dog-proof coon trap. I got a friend of mine whose daughter is just getting into trapping. He said that she's started out with the live traps, which is what most people do. And I recommend the second thing to go to is one of these dog-proofs. These are great for people that are just starting trapping, and I use them all the time, and I've been trapping over 10 years. So it's a great tool for beginners to people who have been trapping a long time. So what we'll get into today is I'll show you kind of a how to set them, where to set them, what to use for bait, and that kind of thing. So we'll have kind of a how-to video today. So I'm gonna first show you how to set them. All right, so this is your trigger, and this is what you call the dog. So they make a tool that you can get online that actually goes in here, and you can lay them down on the ground or on the table and you can set them. I just do it with my hands. So the easiest way to do it is you grab the trap like this, you can squeeze in, you grab your dog, and you put it in your trigger like that. Now I always do it, I don't know if you can see that, see how I left a little bit of a gap? And that makes it easier to trip. If you put it all the way down in that groove, they really have to pull that trigger up to set this trap off. So I kind of set it on what I would call a hair trigger. You'll see a little bit of a gap in there. And that's how you set it. And when they stick their foot in there and they pull up on that trigger, they're caught. Simple as that. So the next thing I'm gonna show you is you can use anything really, tie wire or whatever. I use these little cables. You can get these off Amazon. I just typed in cables with loops, and you can find these. These are actually coated. And then I use these quick links on each end. And then what's easy about these is when you get to where you're wanting to trap, you just loop this around the tree, stick the cable back through itself, you tighten that down, and I recommend using a pair of pliers, and then you can cinch that down to the tree, and that's not going anywhere. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is bait. So you're at the part of my little deal here, it's kind of dirty, but you can get these at the Dollar Tree or whatever, and I like these because you got a little lid here, and when you get to your trap, you can just fill it up. Now what I use for bait, and a lot of people use different things. You can use marshmallows, cat food, whatever. I think when you use cat food, I seem to catch a few more non-targets. What I'm specifically going for is mainly raccoons and sometimes possums. Now you got to trap your possums too. If you're a landowner and you're wanting to try to help out with your turkey populations, your wood duck boxes, whatever, you got to get rid of possums along with coons. So a possum's just as bad as a coon. They will get to a turkey nest and they will eat every egg in there. All right, but what I use for bait is I'll fill this up with deer corn. All right, once I get it up to the top with deer corn, I like to use concentrated crawfish oil. If you want to come in, I'll show you. I order off of Murray's Lures. That's where I get all my traps and all my baits and stuff, but just crawfish oil, sun-rendered crawfish oil, that's what I use. And this bottle is not very cheap. It's about, I think it's close to $30, but it does last a while. So, I mean, when you fill this up with your deer corn, I mean, you're only using maybe a quarter of a bottle, and this will bait a lot of traps, So once you put you about a quarter bottle in there, and then you just shake it up real good, and it's good to go. What these actually are supposed to represent, so I've been told and read, is a crawfish mound. That's another great thing about this trap. You don't have to hide it, nothing like that. You just set it out in the woods. Now you do have to trap on sign. I mean, you're not just gonna set it in your yard and trap a coon. I'll show you here in a minute what you look for. You set this, and with this crawfish oil, I really think that's a good combination. So the next thing we're gonna do is go find some sign, and I'll show you how to set it. All right, so let's talk about location. So what I'm saying is setting on sign. So the creek is flooding. We've had a lot of rain, so I can't really show you a lot of them sandy banks that you look for with coon tracks and all that. So if you got you a big creek, you know, you can follow that around and you can find where them coons been walking, and that's gonna be your best spots. But so what we have right here is we've got a creek behind us, the one that's flooded. It's pretty flooded, so they're not gonna be able to do much with it. But we've got these little tiny little, what I call a little slough that runs to the creek. And right now they've got water on them. So these coons, they're gonna be following all this, looking for crawfish, any type of little minnow or whatever. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this point right here. And what is a really good spot is when you have a little slough or a creek or something, see how it makes this real sharp bend and it makes this point? And you see how it's on these points, how it kind of gets out flat? These coons love these little points like this. So that's a great spot to trap. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our little quick link we was talking about. We'll wrap our trap around the tree. We'll take this quick link, go back onto itself, tighten this up. And I like to take a pair of pliers and I like to tighten this down, because I have learned from experience that a coon can get that loose. You will lose a coon and a trap, so we don't want that. So what I'm gonna do, run this down to the base of the tree. All right, we're gonna set our trap like we talked about earlier. All right, and really anywhere in this general direction is gonna be pretty good. So, because like I said, you're not having to hide this trap. You're not having to try to make them step right on the trap like a traditional foothold. We just want it in the area. So what I like to do is I kind of scrape the leaves back a little bit. And I feel like that fresh dirt smell in this big area, it gives a coon a lot to smell and look at. And that's what I like to do when I set one. So you want your ground to be pretty hard. Now, if it's too soft, they'll just pull the trap out of the ground without setting it off. So you want kind of a good medium to hard ground. So we got this trap, we push it in and you twist it to the right about a quarter of a turn, and that sets it in there. And that trap is pretty solid. So now what we'll do is we'll just fill it up with corn. Now, it does not hurt to spill a little bit on the ground. I actually like to have a little bit on the ground. That's what I prefer. Now, I don't fill it all the way up. So when you're looking inside of that dog proof and you're looking at the trigger, you want it just above that trigger, is how I like to do it. So that's pretty much it. The only other thing I can say is, which I make my own, and I can do this in another video if anybody's interested. But so that's called your bait, and this is a trailing scent. Some people like it, some people don't, you know. But I like to put a little bit on there, and then I just kind of, because if that coon has got a one-track mind, he's working that creek, I personally think their nose will hit that trailing scent and it'll lead them right up here to this trap. So I might can do this in another video, show how I make that if anybody's interested. But like I said, it's not very complicated on these dog proofs. You know, everybody can use it, from a beginner to somebody who's been trapping a long time, and I really enjoy them. And so I think you ought to get one to give it a try if you got some land that you want to manage. And anyway, so probably set a few more, and we'll see y'all on the next video.